Hello everyone, welcome back. In this part, we're going to talk about JavaScript objects. Here I have my simple HTML file which has linked to this JavaScript file. And if you want to run JavaScript in your VS Code, you can install this extension called Code Runner. And after you install this, you're going to see this play icon right here, that if you have some code right here, for example, let's say here we have console log 2. If you do, you can see it's going to run your code. And after this, we're going to use this to test our code. So, you know, bunch of data types that you can use. For example, strings, numbers, booleans, backends, and other types. One of the types that we're going to use a lot is our objects. For example, let's say you want to save some person into your code. For example, let's say here we have our person 1 and we want to save data about this person 1. So the first thing that we're going to save is person 1's first name. So here let's say first name is Rose, and then we need to save last name for this person too. So we need to create another variable called person1 lname, and here we need to define the last name. Let's say the last name is Rona. After this, let's say we want to have the age of our person. So we write person1 age, and let's say 25 for the age. And let's say we want to have person1 grade, and that's going to be 16.5. And now let's have another person. Let's say here we have person2. The first name, let's say, is Bob. Person2's last name is going to be Smith, and person2's age is maybe 30, and person2 grade is 19. Okay, now this is one way of saving information about one person. You see that this is going to be some mess around if we have large amount of data and persons to save. And if we want to print this, for example, let's say here we want to console log our person1 age. We need to use the variables that we defined right here one by one to get the value. And here you can see we got this age. And if we want the second one, we use person2's age variable. And here we got that one right here. But if we want to save this in advanced mode and in good mode, we need to use our objects. For using objects, first of all, we need to have some name for our object. For example, in this case, we have our person1 as our first object's name. And here, after our assignment mark, we use brackets to set our object. And here, we are going to define data about this person inside here and give that data some value. For example, here, let's say we want to define first name for our person1. So here we write fname, and here we use this colon, and then here we give the value, which is row. And after this, we use this comma to separate that and use our last name, which is going to be Rona right here. And we separate this again, give the age for our person, which is 25. And after this, we have to give the grade for our person, which is 16.5. And this is as same as this one. But this is more organized way, and in this way, we defined and created data type of person. Now, if I clear these one, and here want to print one element of my first person, here I just need to write person1, and if I use that right here, I can access all of these 4 items from here. For example, let's say I want the fname, and here if I run, you can see I get this rows. Now let's say we want lname instead of that, and if I run, you can see we got this going on. And of course, we can use this for the age, and after this for the grade. But here we got undefined, and that's because we use uppercase G right here, so here we need to use that uppercase G here too. Now you can see we got the grade 2. And of course we can turn our second person to object 2. So here we need to set person 2. And here we wrap all of these inside of this first, remove these person 2 right here, and use column instead of equal mark, and then we need to divide these by comma. Now we can have person 2's information just how we got with our person 1. And another way of accessing for our fields and property name, which these are our properties and these are our values, is after we write our object, we use our square brackets, and inside of this, we write the name of our property. For example, let's say here we want F name. And here, if I run my code, you can see I got Bob right here. And of course, we can do this with our first object too. And let's get the last name from our first person. You'll see that we can get this. And after this, we can have some function going on inside our object. For example, here let's say we have property of function, and here we can define our function. So we don't give any name here for our function, and we write just the code. Let's say when we run the function, we want to console log this message of hi, I am Rose Rona and I am 25 years old. And now here, if I use my person 1 and then call the function that we created, as you know, followed by these parentheses, and run my code, you can see that we got that code running. So we can have the same thing for our second person too. So here we have this function again, but here instead of Rose Rona, it's going to say Bob Smith and have 30 years old. So here again we can have person to function. And now if I run my code, you can see here we got two prints, which is hi, I'm Rose Rona and have 25 years old, and Bob Smith, which says 30 years old. And we can save any type of things that you saw around yourself inside our object. For example, of cars, laptops, phones, clothes, and all of other things. And it's common that we use const for our objects. And pay attention, we have strings, numbers, and booleans itself value. And we don't want to declare those one as new objects. But any other type, we can have its own data type and create object for that. And we can change the value of our person and object. Let's say here we want to change our person 2's first name. So here we use F name and we want to set that to temp. And now here let's comment this out. And if I console log my person2.f name and run my code, you can see we got temp instead of Bob, which has declared right here. Please give a like and subscribe to catch next videos.